clarifying. And inshallah ta'ala, my motivation, my personal motivation for these lecture series, for the work that I do in Bayyinah, is people that I was inspired by that dedicated their lives to one thing. They felt that the Quran has not been clarified, not even to the Muslims, forget non-Muslims, right? That we haven't done our job clarifying the word of Allah. The book of Allah is clear, but it hasn't been what? Clarified. And that's where we fell short. And when I first started learning the Quran when I was maybe 18, 19 years old, I felt like I was robbed for 18 and 19 years. I lived in the Muslim world. I've been praying since I can remember. But I didn't know this book and what it was talking about, not the way that when I first actually went through the book, cognitively with my mind actually open, not falling asleep, I realized, whoa, I had no idea what's in this book. And this is our book? And we don't know it? Like, it was a shocker for me, right? And so I felt the need for it to become clear to me. And once it started to become clear to me, I felt the urge inside me to want to clarify it for others. Because what I found so illuminating for myself, what I found so priceless, it would be a tragedy of mine, I can't even keep it in myself. Like, I just want to share, hey, you know what I found? You know what people do nowadays? They like a video and they share it, right? And they share ridiculous things. They share like Baby Yoda memes or whatever. Or they share cats playing pianos, or I don't know. They share stuff like that. But if something really moved you, like something changed your life, something transformed you from inside, wouldn't you want to just tell someone, hey, you know what I just found? You know what this just did for me? You know? And so we become, in a sense, every believer that comes to the Quran becomes a living testimonial of what the word of Allah did for them. And then they share that, how it clarified things in their life. And then they want to go out and share it with others and clarify it in their lives. So that's a little bit about tilka ayatul kitab al-mubin. Now let's go to the second ayah. Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. No doubt about it, it is we in fact, we sent it down as an Arabic recital. As an Arabic recital, so that all of you can understand. Also means hopefully all of you can understand. And it could also mean that so that you might understand. So all of you might understand. And actually, I'll even change the word understand. I'll say so you might think and understand. Ta'qilun means two things, thinking and understanding, which are separate. They're not two different. They're two different things. Okay. So now let's dig into this ayah and first of all appreciate its connection. Notice in the first ayah Allah called it kitab. In this ayah He's calling it Quran. Yeah. So what's He doing? He's telling us that it's in a written form in the heavens, and it was turned into something to be recited in Arabic on the tongue of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have sent it down, meaning by way of Jibreel, as hal, an Arabic Quran. An Arabic Quran. So it's the story of the Hebrews, the Israelites, the sons of Israel. That's the story of Yusuf. It's found originally in Hebrew, and yet now it's coming down as an Arabic recital. The Arabs have no business telling this story. It's not your story. Yeah, they have no business, but the master of the Arabs and the master of the Hebrews, it's all his business telling you what story he wants to tell you. So he now reclaims the Israelite story of Yusuf alayhi salam as an Arabic recital. As an Arabic recital. But then he didn't just stop there, that he's going to tell it as an Arabic recital. First, he could have just stopped there. Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan. He said, so that all of you understand. The first meaning of that can be that the Israelites that were listening, that were there in Medina, or that were secretly feeding questions to the Quraysh, they understand that when he is going to give this story in Arabic, clearly it's coming from Allah, because he definitely did not get this from the Hebrew sources. So what's his source then? How did he get this? Nobody else has this. How did he get it? And why is it so much more clear than even what we have in our open form? Why is it like that? So he says Quran in Arabian, an Arabic recital. But there are other implications of it too. The Quran was meant to be recited. Allah could have sent it down as like the Ten Commandments, right? Like in the form of tablets. It could have come down in the form of paper. It could have come down as a book, already printed, published. But Allah sent it down in the form of the spoken word. You know what that means? That the legacy of the Quran in this world is that it should not just be read, it should be spoken. Its original experience for humanity is that its carrier, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, spoke the Quran. We say we follow the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That means we have to speak the Quran to people. What we've done from that sunnah is we recite the Quran, especially in this month. We recite the Quran and we reduce the Quran to sounds, beautiful sounds that are being heard. Those beautiful sounds are critical because they are a part of the Quran, but the Quran didn't come for audible, enjoyment. The Quran came as a message that should be heard, right? So the ummah should have become people that do the recital. Literally, it's called the recital, the thing that is pronounced out loud. But he put it in Arabic, and then the Mufassirun said, well, he put it in Arabic because the original audience was Arab. How could they not? Because it says we gave it as an Arabic recital so y'all can understand, meaning y'all are Arabs, all of you are Arabs, how could you understand it in any other language? So it's obvious that he said it in Arabic, but there's a larger question. Allah knew that when he says all of you understand, in 2020, when I read this, I'm not thinking just all of you in Makkah understand, or all of you in Makkah and Medina understand, or all of you in Hijaz understand. I would be reading this, all of you in Asia, Africa, Europe, Australia, America. All of you across the planet will understand. Isn't this a book for all of humanity? Which creates the question, well, if the Quran is for everybody, how come it's just in one language? It's not my fault that I'm, Asian, or somebody else's fault that they're Hispanic, or somebody else's fault that they're Chinese, or somebody else's fault that they're Vietnamese. It should have come in Vietnamese to the Vietnamese people. It should have come in Punjabi to Lahoris. It should have come in, different dialects to different people. How come it's in Arabic so you can understand? And this is a deep question. Why is it, Allah says, and the answer to that, for me, what I understand of the answer, is a few things. One, the Arabic language, Allah prepared it for the final revelation. Allah prepared the Arabic language for the final revelation. The story begins with Ismail alayhi salam and all of that, but Allah chose the Kaaba to be in the desert. And He chose it to be in an isolated place with no natural resources up until the coming of the Prophet ﷺ, no natural resources whatsoever. So the Arab people were just herding sheep and taking their camels across the desert for trade, but they were isolated. And the great empires of the world, the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, nobody was interested in the Arabs to extend their empire, because even if they extend their empire and take over the desert, what are they going to do? What are they going to get from it? Rivers? What are they going to get? Trees? Agriculture? Are they going to get gold? Oil hasn't been discovered yet, so we're in a new territory now, right? Now everybody's fighting over Arab land because of its natural resources. But back then, what was there? What natural resource? It had no value to the great empires of the world, which is why you've got the Roman Empire on the one end, you've got the Persians on the other end, you've got the Abyssinians on the other end, and none of them are interested in invading Arabia. It's just left alone. They're just left to their own device. What are we going to get from it? They're lost in history, this group. And they're by themselves. And when they're by themselves, their language becomes isolated for the most part. They do pick up some words from Persian and Greek, and when they do trade, here and there, they pick up words and they incorporate them into their language. But not like what happens to, international languages. Not like what happens to cultures that have trade, right? And this is, again, an important language concept. When you are a society that does a lot of international trade, then your own language deteriorates because it keeps getting contaminated by outside influences, right? So an easy example of that for you guys nowadays, ironically, is Makkah. Makkah was the most isolated place back then, just for the Arabs. But nowadays, when you go to Makkah, you go to Umrah or something, and may Allah open up, end this disaster of Corona, and allow us to visit Allah's house again. When you go there and you go in the marketplace, you've got some Senegalese guy selling the prayer rugs, and he's selling it to some Indonesian woman, and he's telling her panch riyal in Urdu. And they understand, and she's responding in Bahasa Indonesia, and he's speaking back in some mixture of English and Urdu. And I went to an Arab guy and I said, in al-mat'am al-Pakistani. I asked him, where's the Pakistani restaurant? He goes, intaliq sida. Sida is an Urdu word, intaliq is an Arabic word. And this guy is like a born and raised Meccan, and Urdu words came into Arabic and just make this nasty cocktail of that's not Arabic. But that's what happens when other cultures come in and cultures mix, language deteriorates. You don't have that phenomenon in Arabia. They are isolated for the most part. And because they're isolated, and they don't have much to look at, man. When they go out at night, they just look at the stars because they got nothing on earth to look at. When they're out in the desert in the day, they're hoping they find a tree somewhere. You know? That's why their poetry is about horses, or about that one tree that they found, or the moon, or the stars. Because y'all got nothing else. So, and what it did is it made them very imaginative people. Their language became full of imagery and richness, right? And very expressive. In fact, the word Arabi, I was looking into the etymology of the word Arabic today. It would take me half an hour just to explain what the word Arabic means, or Arabi means. Well, I'll say a few things. One of its meanings is actually to express yourself and express all of your feelings in the most elaborate way. That's actually A'raba. A'raba amma fi dhamirihi. He opened up what was going on inside him. He elaborated it with great detail. Arabic is a very expressive, rich language, loaded language. Arab actually, Irba, also meant a river that's overflowing. This is why they also used it for a guy who's got too much in his stomach about to throw up. They use it for that too. Why? When something is so rich, it's going to what? Overflow. When you become a student of Arabic, one word in Arabic has so much meaning, it's like a river gushing and overflowing. That's what it feels like. Allah made this language that way. But a society where you're doing trade, you don't have time for that kind of poetic, picturesque imagery language. You just got to make the deal, panch riyal, panch riyal. You just got to get the deal going and move on. That's why, you know, as I travel different parts of the world, I traveled across the United States, some of the worst English ever spoken that I've ever heard is in New York City. Like, it's some of the worst English you'll go to neighborhoods, like you go to Jackson Heights, or you go to, like, you know, Junction Boulevard. I don't know if things have changed. I mean, I was there in the 1800s, so I don't know. But, like, when you go to some of these neighborhoods, and English is like a foreign language. And it's so beat up and busted. And when you come out of New York, and you're actually in some university setting or some other kind of setting, and you're speaking the actual language, you know, the English language, you're like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to say that. Oh yeah, that's not how that, oh yeah. because it's an economic capital. The world traveled to New York, doesn't it? Not anymore right now, Allah help those people. But like, there's international trade all the time. The point I'm getting at is, Allah chose a language that had been isolated, and its words became extremely rich. That's just from a linguistics perspective. Not to mention the entire legacy of Ismail alayhi salam and the promise Allah made to Ibrahim alayhi salam and all of that. That's part of the story too. But Allah is building this scene for what Arabic is going to do. The other remarkable thing about Arabic is I started thinking about this because it's something Umar radiallahu anhu said. He said, تَعَلَّمُوا الْعَرَبِيَّةَ فَإِنَّهَا تَزِيدُ فِي الْعَقْلِ. He said, learn Arabic because it enhances your ability to think. That's what he said. Now it's interesting. Umar is an Arab, and he's talking to who? Arab. And he's like, learn Arabic. Wait, sir, we already know it. I don't think anybody would dare say that to Umar radiallahu anhu. But the point is, when he was in a position of rule, Islam was becoming internationalized, and Arabic was deteriorating already. And our ability to think and contemplate the richness of the words of Allah is deteriorating because we're not learning Arabic more seriously. Right? So, for the first time, arguably for the first time, not because of colonization, but because of our commitment to faith, all over the world, Arabic became the language of the believer. We didn't abandon the other languages. The Persians kept Farsi and mastered Arabic. You know, the Indians kept their Hindi, kept Urdu, kept Farsi, kept their local languages, Saraiki and Punjabi and all of it in Pashto, but they mastered Arabic. Wherever Islam went, Arabic went with it. So Arabic was no longer a language of the Arabs. Like, the Arabs don't own it. Like, you could say the Spanish language is for the Spanish. You know, Urdu language for Desis or something, right? The German language is for the Germans. But the Arabic language is for the people of the Quran. It no longer belongs to an ethnicity. In fact, some of the most remarkable works on the grammar of the Arabic language and the rhetoric of the Arabic language were all written by non-Arabs. All of them. Sibawayh is a non-Arab. The linguistic tafsir of the Quran, Al-Kashaf, is non-Arab. Fakhruddin al-Razi in his grammatical commentary, non-Arab. The pivotal works in tafsir studies that we lean on to understand the grammatical nuances of the Quran, non-Arabs. One after the other. One after the other. SubhanAllah. Why? Because, and it's not to say that non-Arabs did a better job. Non-Arabs came to the Arabs and learned it and said, this ain't yours anymore, this is everybody's. وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ. There are others than them that haven't yet joined them. So, I know I'm taking a little long, but I gotta finish this point because this is so important, folks. This is so, if you've been sleeping through everything else, just wake up for this like 10 minutes. And then you're good. Then you can go back to, sleep. Here's the thing. In the history of religions, you've got religions where the people that represent religious leadership, whether it's the saint, or it's the preacher, or it's the rabbi, or it's the minister, or it's the pope, or it's the swami, or the pandit, whoever. It is the religious figure, the spiritual figure, the scholarly figure, who knows the sacred word, and takes care of the sacred monastery, whoever. They are the custodians of the religion, and the public doesn't actually know the religion. In order for the public to know anything about the religion, where do they go? They go to the gatekeeper, they go to that religious leader, and he or she will tell them what the religion means. Right? So they can't have direct access to it. Even if they try to have direct access to it, they're going to have very limited access, historically speaking, and the actual access will belong to them. And when that happens, when that extreme happens, then I'll give you an analogy. Imagine that you don't know a lot about cars. You know basically nothing about cars, and you go to the mechanic shop and you're trying to get your car fixed, and the mechanic tells you you need a new engine, and you need new tires, and you need a new steering wheel, and you need a new set of seats, and you need basically new everything. And you're looking at him like, because you don't know any better, you have to go by his word. Is it possible that because he knows and you don't know, he can take you for a ride? He can take advantage of your lack of knowledge, your lack of understanding. He can. If you're an informed consumer, however, if you know a little something about cars, or when he says you need a new engine, and you record him and say, why do I need a new engine? And he explains it to you. He says, actually, I got a second and third opinion, and I did some research. I don't need a new engine at all. I'm reporting you to the Better Business Bureau, or whatever. Right? Because you're an informed consumer, you can't be taken advantage of. What is the history of many religious traditions? Not entirely, but and by the way, this happens within Islam too. There's one person or two people who know everything, and if you question them, it's like you're questioning God himself. How dare you question me? I'm the authority here. I'm the authority. So the religion started belonging to the clergy, and the population is just basically held hostage by the clergy. And they trust them, and they adore them, and they love them, but they better not cross the line, because they're going to get put in place. As a matter of fact, the clergy can decide that you're a kafir. If you mess with them too much, they can decide that you're no longer a believer, or you're a heretic, or you need to be cleansed, or you need to be punished, or you're deviated, or you're no longer pure, etc., etc. So they can condemn you as if God himself condemning you. That's one extreme. The Protestant extreme was, forget it, the Catholic Church is trying to control our reading of the Bible. We can read it ourselves. It's the Word of God. We should have access to it for who? For ourselves. And so, on the other extreme, you got people, 1 million people reading the Bible, and 1 million people coming up with different conclusions about what the Bible means. And so you've got more denominations coming out. From my personal reading, I think the book is saying this, and I think it's saying that, and I think it's saying that. And something as fundamental as who Jesus is has a different answer depending on which denomination of a church you go to. You go to cities across America where you have different denominations of churches, and you have a conversation about the reality of Jesus. Just Jesus. Jesus should be the common point, right? They're Christians, common point. But because of the open reading of the Bible, and the open, I interpret it how I feel. My feelings are actually the mufassir, right? Everybody got their own version. Everybody got their own church started. Everybody got their own congregation. Everybody got their own. Sometimes they weren't even prophets. They declared themselves prophets according to their own reading of the Bible. They became prophets. All kinds of craziness. Why? Because it's a free-for-all. What did the Quran do? Because the Quran is also delivering religion. And if previous religions ended up either in chaos, anarchy, or in dictatorship, right? Those are the two, right? Then how is Islam going to be protected? Allah says, we sent it down as an Arabic Quran. So first of all, there won't be confusions about translation or what a word might mean or what an ayah might mean, because all of you, whether you are on one corner of planet Earth or the other corner of planet Earth, you're discussing the same exact word. You're discussing al-mubin, the Arabic word, and you're looking at its meaning in the same exact places. There's no confusion about what a word means. You're all in the same place. Then, because of that, he didn't say, so that your religious leadership understands, and then they can explain it to you. What did he say? So that who understands? Who thinks and understands? So that all of you think and understand, and there are going to be degrees. Some people can think a little bit and understand a little bit, so they'll go to those who have spent a lot more time thinking and understanding, scholars. They'll go to them and ask them questions. But now, because they are informed consumers, because they also for themselves think and understand. They don't think and understand as much as someone who studied 20 years, but they still have a brain that functions. They still think. So when they ask the clergy, a scholar, an imam, a sheikh, whoever, when they ask him a question or her a question, and they get an answer to that question, and the question is not making sense in light of this ayah, or is not making sense in light of what I previously learned, they can say, hey, that doesn't make sense, I don't understand, explain it. I'm not convinced, because I can't stop thinking. I have to be a person of thought. So I hate the word democratize, but it did open source religion. It created transparency in the learning of Islam. All of that starts going away when we say, no, Allah should have sent me, the Quran in Pashto. I don't want to learn Arabic. Allah should have sent the Quran to me in Farsi. I don't want to learn Arabic. Allah should have sent the Quran to me in Punjabi. I like Punjabi. Or how about Bangla? How about Bahasa Melayu? I want to learn it in my own language. I don't want to learn it in Arabic. I don't want to follow the Arabs. Oh, this is an Arab thing died a long time ago, folks. The Quran is not an Arab thing. First of all, it's not a thing. It's the word of Allah. And second of all, He owns all languages. People don't own a language. People don't own a language. Just like people don't own the Quran. The same one who said he taught the Quran, he said he taught speech. All speech belongs to Allah. So if I speak Urdu, doesn't mean I own Urdu. It's actually Allah who owns it. All languages are children of the language taught to Adam alayhi salam. So He gave us the Arabic Quran so that we as an ummah have a minimal level of understanding, thinking and understanding, and then on top of that, our knowledge and our wisdom can be built. It's a remarkable thing that Allah did. But imagine what happens to an ummah when we abandon our direct connection with the Quran. Therefore, as a result of that, we abandon the study of the Arabic language. We just say, let's just recite some surahs. Let's have my kid have some Qari Sahib come home and he'll recite the whole Quran to my kid, and they're going to finish making the sounds, and then we'll give them a cake in an Islamic party, finish the Quran party, right? Which looks like a birthday party, but it's basically I finished reading the Quran party. Like, main to Quran khatam kar diya. Acha nahi, aap khatam ho gaye, Quran khatam nahi hua. Like, I finished the Quran, they say. You finished the Quran? Anybody ever finished the Quran? You're going to get finished. Quran don't get finished. So we developed this mentality that the Arabic sounds are the Quran. No, the Arabic language is the Quran, not the Arabic sounds. Sounds are only a part of the language. But that message was supposed to be there. And imagine just for a moment, just use your imagination for a second. We have, schools around the world, masjids around the world, where kids are memorizing the Quran. Yes? By the thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions memorizing the entire Quran. Can you imagine every man, woman, child, every young boy, every young girl that's a teenager or preteen, and they're memorizing the Quran, and they understand every word that they recite every single day? Can you imagine the effect on their hearts, the effect on their character? As they're just reviewing the Quran, as they're driving to school, because they're they're not just reviewing it because they have to lead Tarawih, so they better get the sounds right. They're reviewing it, and as they're reviewing it, it's Allah actually talking to them. What kind of overall effect would it have on the ummah? These would not be memorizers of the Quran then, these would be carriers of the Quran. There's a difference between memorizing it and carrying it. And He says, we gave this as an Arabic Quran so that all of you can understand. So I hope you appreciate the value and the kind of renaissance, the kind of restoration that can come to the ummah when we re-emphasize the learning of the language of the Quran, so we as a people have direct access to our scripture. So that we have direct access. Like my wish for the ummah, my own children, and the kids I see around me, people around the world, my wish for them is people like me should become irrelevant. Because they have access. They have direct access. They don't have to wonder what this word means. Ustad, I wonder what, they can do that research themselves. They can ask each other. They can have halaqat among themselves and contemplate the word of Allah among themselves. What an amazing thing that would be. So he says, we sent it down as an Arabic Quran, so all of you can think and understand. Last comment, think and understand. I promise. 3 minutes. I'm done. 3 minutes. I'm going to time myself. I've got a timer. Turn it on. It won't turn on. Well, I'll time it. Okay. Document. I said think and understand. Number 1. Everybody thinks. And you can have all kinds of thoughts. Your thoughts can go in any direction. But the right kind of thoughts lead towards understanding, yes? Because the wrong kind of thoughts lead towards misunderstanding. The word ta'qilun actually combines thought and understanding. The word ta'qilun actually also means control over one's emotions. We gave you an Arabic Quran because the Arabic of this Quran is going to empower you. It's going to be so moving that it will direct your thoughts in the right direction so you come to the proper understanding, and it will give you the ability to stand against your own urges, your own anger, your own fear, your own anxiety, your own lust, your own whatever, your own selfishness, any emotion that we have inside, it can put brakes on it. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. So we give you an Arabic Quran that is for the mind and the heart. And that's inside the word ta'qilun. You know? And the place in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah said, you know, their hearts became hard, your hearts became hard. And then He said, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ ثُمَّ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ. Don't you use your aql, your hearts became hard. Because aql directly affects the heart too. Because it is the opposite of jahl. Jahl means inability to control one's emotions. We have to become thinkers. The Quran is not emphasizing knowledge. This is within my 3 minutes now. The Quran is not emphasizing knowledge. The Quran is emphasizing thinking and understanding. Someone can have this little knowledge, but they think properly and they understand properly. And somebody can have this much knowledge and they never use it to think properly. Yusuf alayhi salam had very little knowledge because he only was a student of Yaqub alayhi salam, learning from him at a very young age. So as a kid he got an Islamic education, and then he got kidnapped, and then he's in jail, and he doesn't know much. He doesn't know much. All what he knows alayhi salam is what his father taught him as a child. That's it. And even in his adult years in jail, his thinking is clear. His understanding is clear. His control over emotions is mighty because he understands revelation in that way. That's what Allah has given us in the Arabic Quran. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Inshallah.